Tell that doctor to educate themselves, because they don't understand that it's not your fault. It's the insulin resistance. As long as insulin is high, you can't lose weight. You cannot lose weight. It is physically impossible to lose weight when your insulin is high. Okay? So now getting back to this. You eat food, it turns into glucose. Glucose is now in your bloodstream, insulin rises. When glucose is no longer in your bloodstream, insulin comes down. Now you're using fat for fuel. Insulin is high, you're using glucose for fuel. Insulin low, you're using fat for fuel. Insulin high, glucose for fuel. Insulin low, fat for fuel. This ability to change from one fuel source to the other fuel source is referred to as metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility, the ability to change from one fuel source to the other. And that is how your body has been designed. Your body has been designed that we are able to use fat as a fuel source, because by breaking down fat, we're able to produce what are known as, oh, the flippy flip time is here. I gotta do a flippy flip. Flippy flip, okay. All right, okay, flippy flip. Okay, I know some people are like, just get to where the treatment is. I'm gonna get to the treatment, but if you want the products, just go to my profile. The link is on my profile. But let me teach. Okay, let me teach. All right. No one, the Metamucil. Okay, Ginny Baker Odin. Okay, Metamucil. I'm gonna quickly mention Metamucil for a second before I go into this. All right. Oh, no, let me mention this first. Let me just finish this. I told you, right? Fat, ketones. Remember I said that if you have a patient with Alzheimer's dementia, right? Or any type of dementia, get them external ketones. Yes, your fat produces ketones, okay? All right, ketones is a clean energy source, right? And that's metabolic flexibility, the ability to shift from glucose as an energy source to fat as an energy source, okay? That's metabolic flexibility. Somebody mentioned Metamucil. I'm just gonna address that very quickly. Metamucil is known as the #1 doctor recommended brand. Let me make that very clear to you. Doctors know zero about nutrition unless they're my friend who's a PhD in nutrition, or unless they have some sort of nutritional background. Otherwise, majority of doctors, zero nutrition. Let me also mention this to you. In the 1950s, Camel cigarettes was the #1 doctor recommended brand. Okay? And then thalidomide was a medication that was given to females who had nausea during pregnancy. And then we had thalidomide babies born without limbs. Okay? So you had doctors recommending Camel cigarettes. Then they gave pregnant females thalidomide, causing birth defects. And now you've got Metamucil, which is the #1 doctor recommended brand. Be very careful. Metamucil, in my viewpoint, there's nothing wrong with psyllium husk. Psyllium husk is good for you. But psyllium husk is not sufficient and does not do the job. Metamucil is just basically the big pharma and a corrupted medical establishment telling you, oh, just take this, you'll be fine. Yeah, I'm taking fiber, I'm taking Metamucil, right? Not enough, guys, not enough. It's not gonna reverse your health issues, all right? You're gonna need more than that. You're gonna need to seriously incorporate fiber into your diet, okay? All right? So that's my view on Metamucil. Metamucil is just a scam to make you feel better, okay? It's kind of like when you're walking through the grocery store and you see those labels. You know, it's like highly processed food in boxes, and it's got labels on it saying recommended by the Heart Association, recommended by the Diabetes Association, and you're like, what the hell? This is highly processed carbs with seed oils, preservatives, everything that is going to cause health issues. It's being recommended by the Heart Association, Diabetes Association. So understand the level of corruption here, okay? And if you go to the Diabetes Association's website, you're gonna see the diabetic plate, and majority of it is carbs. Why are you feeding carbs to a diabetic patient? You want their insulin levels to come down. You don't want them to be jacked up the whole time. But because we're gonna give them metformin for the rest of their life and insulin for the rest of their life. That's the whole thing. It is all a business model. Okay? All right, so getting back to the insulin thing, okay? So you eat food, it turns into glucose or sugar. Now your insulin levels rise, okay? All right? Now your insulin levels rise. Sorry, I gotta do the flippy flip, otherwise I get confused. Okay. And your insulin levels rise. And when insulin is high, there are certain processes and hormones that are active. And when insulin is low, there are other hormones and processes, physiological processes that are active. So insulin, depending on whether it's high or low, works as a gear shift, guys. Works as a gear shift. Let's go back to this graph now. Okay, let's go back to this graph. Let me point out a few things, okay? So the health department comes in and they're telling you, eat 3 meals a day, snacky in between, right? How do I? On my profile, you'll see a link in my bio for my link tree. Everything is there, okay? All right, okay. So, you eat a highly processed breakfast and it raises your insulin levels up. And then your insulin levels tried to come down, but then they told you to have a snack, so it went back up. And then it was trying to come down, then you had an Oscar Mayer wiener and it brought it back up. And then it was coming down, and then you had a snack and brought it back up, and then bam, you had dinner, and it looks like Burger King or McDonald's, and you brought it back up, right? You've literally kept your insulin levels high the whole time. You've kept your insulin levels high the whole time. So this is what's happening. Remember I said when insulin levels are high, you have certain physiological processes and hormones that are active while others are not? If you're gonna keep this high, you're gonna be stuck over here, but you're not going to initiate these hormones and physiological processes. And guess what? When you're stuck here, you're not going to be able to tap in your fat for fuel either. You're stuck in gear. It's kind of like driving a car. You're driving a car and you're driving and you see a cliff coming and you hit the brakes and the brakes fail. So you say, no problem. I'm just going to grab the gears and slam them into reverse so that the car does not go forward. But you can't get it out of gear and the car goes over the cliff. That's insulin resistance. You cannot get the insulin down because they've told you to constantly eat 3 meals a day. Snacky in between. 3 meals a day, snacky, right? And you've kept your insulin levels high the whole time. This is what's happening. Insulin is the master metabolic hormone. Insulin is the master metabolic hormone. It is involved in hundreds, if not thousands, of cellular processes within your body. And every single cell in your body has a receptor for insulin, okay? And based on those insulin levels, they will dictate what those cells will do and how they're gonna function, okay? We all know that insulin takes sugar out of the bloodstream and takes it to the cells. And that's when everything's fine and all hunky-dory, right? And insulin will go through and grab the glucose from your cells, and like Oprah Winfrey saying, you get a car, you all get cars, yay! It's going around to all the cells saying, you're gonna get glucose, you're all gonna get glucose, yay, right? That's what it's doing, right? But not just there. Insulin influences your hormones. Yes, your stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, okay? And also your sex hormones like estrogen. Think of PCOS, endometriosis, irregular menstrual cycles, early puberty. It will influence your testosterone. Think of erectile dysfunction. Think of low libido. Think of low testosterone. Think of decreasing sperm counts. It will influence your thyroid. Dr. C, yes, your thyroid. Where's my marker? Okay. Yes, your thyroid, because When you have high insulin levels, high insulin will not allow for the conversion of T4 to T3. Let's do a flippy flip here. Okay? All right, when you have PCOS, you have high insulin and you've got PCOS because high insulin will increase androgen production in females, therefore increase testosterone in females. That's where the facial hair is coming from. That's where, you got the spotting and everything, okay? All right, then you're talking about males. Oh my God, males. Why is it causing it then? Because high insulin levels will increase aromatase activity. Aromatase activity. Aromatase is the enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen. That's why men are getting gynecomastia, man boobs, okay? All right. And then it influences your hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin. Yes, leptin. Remember Leptin? Leptin. That was the hormone that establishes fat cells to the brain.